What is happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode, but not just any episode. This is going to be the start of a new series called the hook-rod-line relationship. Now, the purpose of this new series is to help newer anglers looking to put together a combo when they're looking at fishing different baits. Or even the angler that's got a combo or two and they're just looking to add their arsenal. Hopefully this will give you some ideas on the different ways you can put your combos together to fish the bait of your choice. I call this the hook-rod-line relationship series because all of these work together. The hook on your bait, the type of rod you're using, and the line that you put on there. How many times have you heard somebody ask, what's the best combo to fish this on? Or you hear somebody ask, I'm picking up a new rod. What rod should I pick up for this specific lure? Well, the beauty of fishing is it's not math. There's not one correct answer. I'm not going to tell you what the right combo is. I will tell you the combos that I use and the reason why, and hopefully give you some information to put together the combo that you are most comfortable with. I mean, look at it this way. You ask 8 different elite level pros on the Elite Series, and I guarantee you will get 8 different answers on how they fish a certain bait. Some might just be tiny different, maybe a rod length an inch or two longer, line poundage is maybe 2 pounds stronger, or you might have guys that are completely different. One guy likes a really stiff rod, one likes a smaller, shorter rod. So let's get into it and look at how I put the hook, rod, and line together to pick out a combo. All right, let's take a look at the first piece of the puzzle, and that's the hook. When I go to pick out a hook, I'm looking at 2 main things. Number 1 is going to be the size of the fish that I'm fishing around. If I'm in a lake where I know there are giants, I'm going to tend to err on the side of caution and go probably to a heavier wire hook. Just to be safe. It's like insurance. It's there if you need it. If you don't use it, well, at least you had it. On the opposite side, if I'm just doing some pond hopping here in some of my local ponds, and I know it's generally smaller fish, maybe a 3-pounder is big, then I'm okay with going with a lighter wire hook. You'll know you're going too heavy with too heavy of a hook or too heavy of a setup when you get those fish in and you notice there's a big gaping hole in the side of their mouth where you set that hook. The combo that you're using is too powerful. It might be too stiff of a rod, maybe because of the braid, the lack of stretch. It's just unnecessary power. And that's what the big hole in the side of the fish's mouth is saying as well. You're fishing too heavy. Don't be afraid to downgrade in those situations. It will actually help you out. When you have a big hole in the side of that fish's mouth, the fish you've got in, the bait literally just falls out. Well, if at any point in time when you were fighting that fish, if you put slack in your line, good chance you're losing it. You want that hook to go right through the side of the fish's mouth and have no extra space around that hook. That way this old barb can do its job and help stop any sort of fish that are trying to, pop off the hook. The second and probably most important thing that I look at is what I'm fishing around, the cover. If I were to use a light wire hook, this is, a rather light wire swim jig. I can bend that, you can see there with my thumb, quite a bit of movement with just my fingers. If I were to fish this around really thick, hard, heavy timber with, say, 50-pound braid, there's a good chance if I get a fish hung up in there, I'm bending this hook out, no problem. When I'm out fishing, I'm trying to hit the spots that nobody else does. The weekend anglers will usually take the easy route. They don't want to lose lures, and they'll just hit the edges of stuff. I'm throwing back in the dirty, yucky, disgusting parts where nobody else is going to try and increase my chances of getting more fish. And I want to have the insurance and a heavier setup, a heavier wire hook that can stand up to all that cover. So keep in mind the size of the fish that you're around and the cover that you're fishing around. Those generally tell me how heavy of a hook I'm going to want to use. Now, when we're talking about swim jigs, I really break it down into the 3 main categories. First is going to be this finessier type swim jig. It's got a rather light wire hook. You don't need a big, huge broomstick to fish this type of jig. You'll actually do better if you don't fish it on something like that. Next, we'll move over to kind of the middle of the road. This is one of those Grassmaster jigs, all-terrain tackle, I believe it is. I fished these a lot, but you can see these two compared to each other. This is more of a standard wire hook there. You can see it's a little bit of an upgrade, a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier hook. And last but not least is your big old heavy dogs getting you through whatever you need to. The big old 4x4 of the swim jig world. This actually happens to be a flipping jig, but you'll notice those line ties come off at pretty much the exact same angle. You can swim these just as well. This is a big old heavy wire hook. Look at that compared to this. You can see the difference there. You don't want to fish these two on the exact same combo. You're going to be a lot more successful if you match the hook to the line and the rod. Speaking of rods, let's talk about them. So the second thing I look at is the rod. A lot of anglers are on a budget and might only have 1 or 2 combos. The good thing is you can switch your line and hook to fit your combo. So you want to understand the type of rod that you have and what changes you might need to make to the bait or to your line to make you more successful with the combo that you already have. Or if you're looking to expand your selection, we can look at different rod types and might even give you some ideas to get out of your standard comfort zone. So the final thing we'll look at in the trio is the line. Yes, the line is the least expensive thing to change in this whole trifecta, but it can have a huge impact on the way and how you're gonna fish that bait. Imagine you have always fished 65-pound braid. You drop down to 10-pound fluorocarbon, that's going to impact the way and the places that you can fish your bait. Another cool thing about the line is you might only have 1 or 2 rods, but if you have a couple extra reels, you can always spool them up with some different lines Bring that with you and you've got multiple options when you're out on the water. Say for example, you've only got one medium heavy rod and you have 50-pound braid on your reel, you're fishing the frog in the morning, frog bite dies. You happen to have another reel with 15-pound fluorocarbon on it, switch out that reel and boom, you've got a versatile combo that you can use the rest of the day. All right, now it is time for the fun part. Let's talk about the combos. Now, at any point in time in the video, I want you to hit pause if you have a question and type it below. I absolutely love hearing from all of you, especially all of you that leave other comments of kind of how you do stuff or a different way of thinking. It helps all the other fishing friends out. Remember, I'm not right. There's not one right way to fish. So hearing from all of you is cool. It gives me a different perspective and things to try, and it gives other fishing friends in our community things to look at and try as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the first combo. Now on all of these combos, I've got a 7-ish something to 1 reel on them all. This is a 7.5, some of them are 7.0. I like the 7 speed for my moving baits. I used to in the past, maybe past 4 years, fish a 6 something. This year and at the end of last year, I moved up to the 7s. I used to only use those for my Texas rig jigs, but I've been liking them a lot more for moving baits in case you need to burn it. All right, so this happens to be a 7-foot, medium power, moderate fast action. That moderate fast action gives you that good bend in the tip like this. Can you see that? It's really bendy. And this doubles great as a cranking stick. I can throw on a 6-foot diver and throw that perfectly on this moderate fast action rod. Now you can always alter the length, go shorter if you want a little bit more accurate cast or you're a shorter person, or go longer if you're taller, more comfortable with a longer rod, or if you want to make longer casts. 7 foot for me is the most accurate, the most comfortable I feel out of anything to fish. The line, I go with a 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon or copolymer. I'm currently running a 15 pound 100% fluorocarbon on this because I've got the bend in the rod to fight the fish. I don't need the stretch in the line. I want that good direct connection without a lot of stretch, and I'm gonna let my rod fight the fish back. So you might be saying, why? Why the medium power, moderate fast action? Well, remember it's got those light wire hooks, lighter to normal wire hooks I throw on this. You don't need an extremely heavy, powerful rod to get penetration with those hooks. How many times have you thrown a bait out, set the hook, got the fish in, and it's got a big hole in its mouth, right? You're probably either using too heavy powered of a rod, or maybe even too stiff of a line, or it could be a combination of the two. Too heavy of a rod with braid, no stretch, you've got a lot of power in that. With these moving baits, you only get one chance to set that hook. It's not like a jig. You flip a jig out, you're working it on the bottom, you feel a bite. Oh yeah, is that a bite? Bam! Herculean hook set. With these, you don't get that. You're reeling it in, it smashes it, and you've got to pull into that fish and set the hook. That's the big difference in why I tend to go with the softer or more moderate bendy rod when I'm fishing a moving bait. Now, as an alternative, if you don't have a moderate fast rod, those kind of tend to be a little bit more specialized, or a crankbait rod. A lot of people don't have those, but there's a good chance you might have a medium power fast action rod. You can use that, but I would use either a copolymer or monofilament on there. You're not going to have a real bendy rod, just the end of that tip bends. But if you use a line that's got a little bit of stretch in it, you can get that same effect that will help you. That line's going to help kind of give a little bit of shock absorption when that fish goes to throw the hook and keep that fish pinned a little bit better. So you see what I mean here? There's not a right way to do it. You can kind of change these variables along the way to fit what you have or to fit the way you like to fish. Some people only fish monofilament. My old man, he's stubborn. He only fishes monofilament, doesn't like fluorocarbon at all. He can get away with throwing it on a medium power fast action rod. If I have this rod with a lot of parabolic bend in it and I were to put mono on here, there's a good chance I'm not going to get the hook sets. I'm just not going to penetrate. Even though that hook is small, there's just so much smushiness in the whole combo, you're going to miss fish. Combo number 2. Now, this is the type of combo that I fished moving baits on, like the swim jig, for a long time. A medium heavy fast action rod. This is a 7'3", still a good comfortable length. You can make good casts, kind of an in-between. But it's got that fast tip, so there's not gonna be a whole ton of bend. It's not gonna bend all the way down toward the middle like a glass rod. So that's why on these sort of combos, I always go with the copolymer. It's got more stretch than fluorocarbon, not as much as mono, some of them don't. And I like that. The whole thing kind of works in unison. You've got the stretch of the line with a good powerful rod to get that hook set. You're gonna let that little bit of line absorption help you on the way fighting the fish back. Now keep in mind, not all medium heavy fast action rods are the same. They're completely different. There's no industry standard. Kind of annoying, but it's kind of nice. You can find a medium heavy rod with a fast action tip that's a little bit softer than others. I've got some that are completely softer than this one, but that's a good thing. You can use those to your advantage. If you have a medium heavy with a softer tip, use that for your moving baits. Save your other medium heavies that have a much stiffer tip for things like Texas rig jigs. They really excel there. Now, as an alternative to that, if you're one of those anglers that likes a little bit softer rod, go with a medium heavy, moderate fast. This is an old combo of mine, a 7'5" medium heavy, moderate fast. It's actually a cranking / chatterbait rod. A lot of people use a moderate fast for chatterbaits, and they don't really think about it for their swim jig. So if you like a little bit softer rod, you can really load that rod up and get a good long cast. You like to fish that way. A deeper crank rod is perfect for those regular to even a little bit heavier wire swim jigs. They fish great on here. And last but not least, what do you fish those heavier wire swim jigs on? Well, I don't actually buy any of those heavier California wire swim jigs, but I will swim a flipping jig with an archy head like that. Look at that. You see that? See that head? What's it look like? It looks just like a swim jig, right? It pretty much is. That's what the archy head is great. Great at coming through wood, but you can still swim it. So on those combos, I don't use anything special. Usually it's just my regular standard flipping stick, 7 foot to 7'5" heavy power flipping rod. I usually have 17 to 20 pound fluorocarbon or copolymer on those. I happen to be testing out a buddy's rod. He gave it to me, wanted me to get my thoughts on it. And this is actually a 7'3" mag medium heavy. So the magnum at the front of it usually means it's like a half step up. So it's a little bit heavier than just your standard medium heavy, but it's not as much as a heavy. So it's kind of that in between, that mag. The 7'3" allows for long casts, but the tip on this rod is very, very soft. However, it transitions into a very stiff backbone. And I like that. If you have any sort of flipping rods that are just a little bit softer in the tip, perfect if you plan on also swimming that jig back. I've had so much success with that. I can't tell you enough. A lot of people, in a Texas rig, I'm kind of guilty of it. I'll flip a Texas rig into a bunch of wood, hop it a couple times. If I don't get bit, I'm coming out. It's a game of numbers. The more pitches you can make, generally the more fish you can find. However, if I have a jig tied on, I do not do that. I'm flipping wood. I'll flip it in there, bounce it, and then I'm swimming it back. I can't tell you how many fish I've caught swimming a jig back, and that'll also kind of tell you, oh, the fish are a little bit more active. They're chasing these spots. This combo actually has a 20-pound copolymer on it. Because it is a little bit heavier rod, my buddy chooses to use copolymer. This is just an old reel I threw on that had copolymer, and I like that little bit of stretch if I plan on swimming it. Now, if I were in real thick, heavy wood, this would probably be straight fluorocarbon on here just because of the abrasion resistance. It's so hard to beat on fluorocarbon. Now I need your help. I want every single one of you that watch this to comment below and let me know what type of bait do you want to see next. We're going to run through all the combinations, the different ways you can fish it, that hook, rod, line relationship. You can change those variables in the setup you already have to make something work a little bit better or fit your style a little bit more. So I can't thank you all enough for watching. I love all of you. I appreciate the support from everybody that has helped me grow. And until next time,